I am incredibly impassioned about this because, Slick, in case people forget, the Pelicans were the 1 seed on December 12th. The 1 seed in the West. Then on January 2nd, Zion Williamson ceased to continue playing basketball due to the hamstring injury. He did not play again this season. Then by April 12th, they were eliminated from the playoffs. So you go from a 1 seed, December 12th, to an injured hamstring, January 2nd, and by April 12th, you're not even in the playoff picture. If I am a Pelicans fan, I am enraged with anger because Zion can't get right. Slick, athletes owe debts to 3 people, I do believe. And Zion is delinquent on all 3 of them. The first thing an athlete owes is a debt to themselves. They owe a debt to themselves to commit as much as they can commit to their body and thus to the game. Then they owe a debt to the team that they play for, because that team that they play for, in the case of Zion, has given them $200 million, Supermax player. And lastly, athletes owe a debt to the fans, because fans, they pay their hard-earned money Monday through Friday to come watch athletes play. Zion owes a debt to himself, to the organization, and to the fans, and he is delinquent on all of the payments. I understand missing time with the foot injury, which he has done. He ain't played last season. I understand missing time with the knee injury, which he has done. But you gonna miss 4 weeks with a soft tissue injury? With a hamstring injury? What I learned in sports, playing both college and professional, soft tissue injuries, they are the most easily prevented. Stay hydrated. Be very well stretched out before the games. But you gonna miss 4 months with a soft tissue injury? What we talking about, coach? So for that reason, Joy Taylor, I do believe that the Pelicans, they should no longer hold out hope for Zion. But what do you say?
Well, you know how I feel about this. They should not hold out hope, because once someone shows you who they are, you should believe them.
True.
Now, I think you should have some grace. You know, that statement isn't everlasting. And if it applies to young people, perhaps you give them some wiggle room to grow and to change. But once I've paid you, how many dollars?
$200 million.
Well, now you know what he is. And you really knew what he was before you paid that. But I understand that they had to pay him that. They drafted him. They had to draft him. Yeah. We can talk all we want about hindsight, but anyone in that position would have done the same thing 10 out of 10 times. I get it. But that's why I'm with you. This is on Zion now. So all they can do is hope. I'm sure they have provided him with all of the resources possible for him to keep his body healthy. Food, trainers, yoga, Pilates, special water. I'm sure that the Pelicans have gone out of their way to make sure that the environment that Zion Williamson is in is the absolute best that it can be for his body to remain healthy, for him to be on the floor. He is too important to this team. He is too important to the NBA, frankly, for it to be a failure of this magnitude and it be on the organization. So by all accounts, I believe the Pelicans have done that. I believe that they have provided him the resources. At one point or another, though, someone has to do it on their own. And the unfortunate beat on this Zion Williamson story is that he's not doing it all on his own. Yeah. Sometimes people are just injury prone. You have freak accidents. Maybe you step down on someone's ankle. We can see that you're trying and things just keep happening to you. That doesn't seem to be the case, and it's really disappointing. And at this point, how can we believe that it's going to change? He, especially out of all athletes, because of his body type and the torque, has to be almost scientific with what he puts in his body and how he cares for his particular body because of his playing style, weight, and size. Yeah. So some people can do that. Some people can get away with not stretching. We all knew athletes throughout on every level that were just spoiled. They were just great. They didn't have to do all the extra stretching. They didn't have to do all the extra training. They never got hurt, and they were just great, and they played forever. That's the outlier. Most people have to take really, really good care of their body, like almost perfect care of your body. And if this continues to happen and he doesn't do that, what are they supposed to do?
Dave, I'm curious on your answer because you are a New Orleans native, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true.
So you are more invested from an emotional standpoint in this conversation, quite literally, than all of us, speaking strictly emotionally as a fan growing up and all the things. Should the Pelicans keep holding out hope with Zion?
I am heartbroken that the New Orleans Pelicans would lead a national TV show for this type of reason. You know, it sucks. But yes, I ask you this. This is where I go. And look, Pelicans fans, you're entitled to be heartbroken about the way the season went, about that game, about watching Zion windmill dunk before the game. I don't think we would be doing this if Zion had just sat out the workout, you know? Like, if he's not dunking and the word is that he's available to play in this game.
His word.
Even if he's only given you, you know, a couple buckets, that could be enough to win a game like that. So if that doesn't happen, I don't think we're doing this. But I ask you, okay, when you get past the heartbreak, when you get past the frustration that this 22-year-old kid seemingly isn't taking good enough care of himself to be available when the chips are down, I ask you this. What's the alternative? Because that's my thought, is we know what Zion can be. He has shown us a very brief glimpse of greatness. All-star, 27-7, looked just as special as everybody thought he would be.
True.
I get it. He's been available for 35% of his games. It was a glimpse. But if that is what you have on your roster, and you can potentially coax it out of him, help him get healthier, help him take better care of himself, is that not better than the alternative of what? Of trading him away for not a good return on investment because I'm sick of looking at you. I'm sick of talking about you. That's not smart business, in my opinion. I would rather bank on a guy that everybody, Joy's totally right. You would 100 times out of 100, every team in the league would have drafted him number one. Like, we can say what we like. We know now that Ja is amazing, although, you know, you would be fair to second guess that decision as well, the way that's gone over the last 6 months or so. Everyone would have done that. So it's not like the Pelicans did this dumb thing. They made the obvious choice and it hasn't worked out. He's 22. I would still rather bank that you can figure this out. Again, a guy that just signed, by the way, he just got that big contract. I would rather bank you can do something because basically what you're telling me is cutting bait for no other reason than that you're frustrated, and I just don't think that's smart business.
Okay, you got emotional. I'm going to be analytical.
Valid.
I would get him healthy. I would showcase him, and then I would move him as soon as I can. Because, and it's not even a matter of what we experience, which is him windmill dunking and showing that he can play, and then he can't play and the Pelicans get knocked out of the playoffs. That for me, I understand why would emotionally anger Pelicans fans. Because I wouldn't want him to play. Look, the optics are terrible. Why are you going out and teasing your fan base? I wouldn't want him not playing for 4 months and then going out and trying to play in a play-in game, no matter how many minutes. You're just asking for potential damage. My issue is that at this point, it's not just who he's shown me who he is in terms of not being able to take care of his body, but there is a cumulative effect of the injuries that he's experienced. And that's just been a constant, one thing after the other. And with a body at that size, if you're having those kind of injuries at this age, why am I supposed to believe that something is dramatically going to change in terms of your ability to stay healthy? It's been said many, many times. We've never seen anything like Zion Williamson in the NBA. There's a reason for that. Because being 280 and playing with that kind of explosiveness does not work over 82 games. Hasn't even worked over 30, 35 games. So that's where I've seen plenty of guys who are young. Zach Randolph comes to mind. You could even argue Andrew Wiggins before he got to Golden State. John Morant, I don't put in the same category because I can look at those things as being immature, but what's the collateral damage? His reputation, but not his ability to perform.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What's happening with Zion right now is impacting his long-term ability, and that's why I wouldn't, if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm going to get out while the getting is good.
Slick, you said something very brilliant. I think it applies to athletes. I think it applies, as I said before, in business. Typically, if you have to utter the phrase, we've never seen anything like it, there's a reason. And hopefully Zion can change that narrative. But as it stands right now, missing all of last season, then missing this season, and now missing most of this season, and now your team's missed the playoffs, that's all bad.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.